witness narcissism in its truest form firsthand. Before I play the video though, I want to give you guys some insight on narcissism, okay? Now, narcissist by definition is a person who has excessive interest or admiration of themselves. Honestly, family, that is like describing the earth as a place where humans live. Just doesn't seem to sum it up, right? So we're going to go into narcissistic personality disorder. How do you know you're dealing with a narcissist? The way this first definition is described as someone with excessive interest or admiration for themselves, you could call someone who's successful or who's trying to make their dreams come true a narcissist. But narcissist is not necessarily a negative thing, but NPD most definitely is, narcissistic personality disorder. So how do you know when you're dealing with a person with NPD? One of the best ways to spot a narcissist, honestly, is to have conflict with them. They simply cannot handle conflict without doing toxic behavior. They cannot do it, family. The reason is a narcissist has to win at all costs. So they will not have empathy. They will not have an understanding, because to give you a simple understanding to your concerns, to have empathy for what you've gone through, would mean they would have to be accountable at least a little bit. So they are not willing to do that. All right. So I'm going to break down a few of these things that you're going to see in this next video coming up. Okay. Now, first, let me just say this. Not everyone who doesn't know how to build a sound argument, isn't familiar with logical fallacies, or is not really good at handling conflict is a narcissist. But I will say most genuine people are willing to do better. They will try to understand you. All right. And so when you call them out on some of these behaviors, they can tend to listen and work with you. But a narcissist will just play dumb as if you didn't just make a correction. Okay. And so that's what we're going to talk about. And I want you guys to notice that even if a person may not be a narcissist, if they're unwilling to do better in resolving conflict, you may have really big problems down the road. So it's not necessarily so key on pinning them down or diagnosing them or even getting them to admit that they are a narcissist or even has narcissistic traits. It's more about make the best decision for your life. When you realize when you're realizing that you're dealing with a person that behaves in this way, know that this is a lose-lose situation. You'll never be able to go to them with your truest concerns because they will never acknowledge them. All right. And so you will be in a one-sided relationship, and people report to be the loneliest they've ever been when they are in relationships with people who do not acknowledge their concerns or seem to care about what they're going through or have empathy for them at all. Okay, family, we're going to get into 6 clear signs that you're dealing with a narcissist when you're in conflict. All right, let's go. Number 1, arguing in bad faith. When in disagreement, a common person tries to understand the other party. Listen to them, be honest, and make sure they understand where the other is coming from. Sure, sometimes people can slip and become too upset or too anxious, but generally, that's the unwritten guideline. Narcissists, on the other hand, argue in what is sometimes referred to as bad faith. It means that they don't even care about or even try to understand the other person, or even worse, they are dedicated to deliberately misunderstanding and mischaracterizing others, even to the point of absurdity. They are willingly dishonest, deceptive, morally corrupt, often while at the same time quick to accuse others of being dishonest, deceptive, and morally corrupt. Number 2, fallacies, nonsense, word salad. Narcissists are often ill-equipped to have mature discussions or resolve conflicts, yet in their mind they are experts at it. As a result, they often use some terms, arguments, or techniques that they've heard about, yet don't really understand, all while thinking that they are being rational, reasonable, or correct, sometimes to the degree that they have become extremely upset or even aggressive, that you are being irrational, unreasonable rant, or an amalgamation of logical and argumentation fallacies, misrepresentation of you, factual errors, emotional language, or pure nonsense, as in something that literally makes no sense. In more extreme cases, it's called word salad, as in a mix of words that are just thrown together with no coherence or structure. Number 3, provoking, bullying, or intimidating. Since a narcissist's goal is to dominate and be perceived as right at all costs, they often use aggression. This category involves the more overtly aggressive attacks commonly used by a narcissist. Such methods include provoking, bullying, and intimidating, where the narcissist picks on you, calls you names, yells, acts overly emotional, deliberately tries to hurt you, blatantly lies, threatens, or even physically aggresses against you. Not only that, then they spin it around, presenting it as if by reacting to it or by ignoring them, you are the one who's unreasonable, too emotional, and aggressive against them. Now, you guys have seen this. They'll say something mean, inappropriate, and when you react to it, especially if you're angry or upset, they'll say, look at you, look at how you acting. You yelling at me, you doing this. Why you mad? Why you mad? As soon as you get mad, that's exactly what they do. All right, family. So number 4, lying, denying, changing definitions. Here, in order to win, the narcissist uses more covert attacks. Sometimes they lie about what happened, what you did or they did or didn't do, or even about what's real and factually true, often to the degree of pure denial and delusion. An attempt to confuse the other person and make them doubt their experiences or reality by lying about it is called gaslighting. Another method that falls in this category is redefining to suit their narrative. For that purpose, they are keen on using euphemistic language or redefining commonly used words to fit their narrative when it clearly doesn't. Again, the goal is to justify that what they are doing is good and what they are saying is right, even when it clearly isn't. Sometimes it means reframing or minimizing their toxic behavior to confuse you. For instance, I didn't yell at you, I was just passionate. This is not abusive or manipulative. I'm just being assertive and honest. Number 5, deflecting, attacking, projecting. A painfully common tactic used by narcissists is deflect and attack. Here the goal is to shift attention from what the narcissist is saying and doing to what you are saying and doing, where they never have to take responsibility for their behavior or address anything you're saying. If you bring something up that you don't like or find to be untrue or problematic, instead of addressing it or taking responsibility for it, they will quickly deflect and go into attack mode. This means they will use their toxic tactics to quickly shift attention from themselves and bring up something that you may or may not have said or done, often to the degree where they try to always keep you on the defense by accusing you of all sorts of stuff, some of which includes the things they are actually doing themselves. Actually, it's most of what they're doing themselves. And if you make a mistake of actually trying to address it, you will get distracted from the initial issue and soon become overwhelmed by all the stuff that now you are expected to address and clarify, and do so to a person who doesn't care about understanding you or dedicated to mischaracterizing you in order to dominate and win the argument. Okay? Number 6, involving others and acting out revenge fantasies. Narcissists have extremely fragile egos and a shaky sense of self-esteem. If you actually stand up for yourself and don't play their games, they perceive it as humiliation, as you being unfair, even abusive to them. In their eyes, you are being unreasonable because you don't acknowledge that they're superior, right, and an all-around wonderful people. They find it terribly offensive and feel shame, injustice, and rage. Call it narcissistic injury. To regulate their overwhelming emotions, they often try and receive false validation. This means they will look for other people who would side with them and tell them that you are wrong and evil and that they are right and good. It involves lying, smearing, slandering, triangulation, gossiping, stalking, and other forms of social aggression and manipulation.